Welcome to all of you to what we're calling the digital detox, and this is in cooperation with Mindful USC, which is a university-wide initiative that is really trying to bring mindfulness to the University of Southern California. I'll be taking you through some things about me a little bit. I'm a senior teacher at Inside LA, which is in Santa Monica, where I've been teaching for about 10 years. But now I'm also co-chair of Mindful USC. So we've been kind of like bridging this kind of thing between a mindfulness center and USC. And the reason why I got involved is because I have two roles. I'm a senior teacher at Inside LA, but I'm also a professor of marketing here at USC in the Marshall School of Business, where my specialty is digital marketing. And so somehow we all kind of came together. And so let me just get a kind of sense as to, I know why I'm here, but why are you here? What is it that motivated you to want to kind of come to a class like this? Anybody? Yeah.
So I'm studying marriage and family therapy, and we talk a lot about mindfulness and how to incorporate it into our work as therapists, future therapists. And I wanted to learn about it by doing it myself, or learning about it myself.
All right, great. Anybody else? Yes.
I'm a grad student at the cinema school, and I actually took your 5-week seminar that you gave last spring over there, and just kind of wanted to explore things further, and saw that there was kind of more of a creativity angle. So it works more with what I'm trying to do. So.
All right. Anybody else? Yes.
Similar. Just interested in exploring the creativity aspects of it,
Okay.
and also how it can help manage stress.
So stress is one of the reasons why a lot of people come here. Most people come to mindfulness not because they want to learn about mindfulness. Their really underlying motivation for it is because they really feel that they're out of sync with life, or they have a lot of self-judgment or stress or anxiety, and it's starting to kind of get in the way of, say, some of the things that they want to do, like be creative. So they actually are creative, it's just that they can't really explore that creativity. The lateral thinking, for example, that a lot of people talk about with creativity, and the reason is because either their anxiety levels or their self-judgment is really getting in the way of that. And so people, have been kind of feeling a little bit out of sync with life and want to have a better way of living, etc. And they try to cope with these things. And so people cope in lots of different ways. And I'll give you some ways that you can see how people cope. Some people cope by drinking, and they have problems, and they say, "Oh, okay, so I'll drink," or they eat, or they snort Facebook, like you can see over there, or some people say, well, I'm going to go to a spa, or they go shopping. And a lot of people, what they do is they, like I have over there, they kind of repress. They have these kind of emotions, and they feel the best way to go forward is just to repress them. And kind of like just ignore them and just say, okay, I'm going to do something else, and just kind of see if I can kind of like get away from my problems by just kind of ignoring them. And the problem with these things is that while people try to use them as a way to cope with all of these issues, is they don't work very well. And the reason why they don't work very well is because they're very short term. It's not really changing anything fundamental about the way that you experience life in any profound way, and so they'll only last for a bit of time. And so mindfulness works, and the reason why we know mindfulness works is because there's been this explosion of empirical research, and you can see this explosion right here, which is kind of documenting back in 1980. There was no published research that showed how mindfulness works, and then back in 2013 there were over 500, almost 550 medical research articles that showed that when people actually practiced mindfulness, that in fact so many of the problems that people were facing seemed to go away. And in fact, last spring or fall, when I was teaching, we were actually doing research on the people who were going through these labs, and we found significance on stress reduction. So people, stress went down, their anxiety went down, their depression went down, their concentration, which is valuable when doing any creative field, went up. And so this is kind of interesting to kind of understand that the practice that I'm kind of trying to teach you and impart on you is really something that kind of has documentedly changed the way that people experience life. And it's very popular right now. And so you know it's popular whenever there's a Mindfulness for Dummies book that's hit the market. I was just talking with the LA Times right before I got here. I was doing a story on Mindful USC, and they were asking me, why do you think it's so popular? Because they've seen the same thing. They've seen Harvard Business Review has a mindfulness helps you become a better leader, the Mindful Revolution, Time Magazine, you know, as they say, has a Scientific American, and of course, you know, it's on Diane Sawyer and ABC News, and you read about it when every time you pick up Huffington Post or, you know, you read any of these blogs, everybody seems to be talking about it. So the question that we have in front of us, which is the question that a lot of people have when they come to the practice, and they have me explain what I'm having you do, is they immediately come back and they say, well, this sounds really good, but it doesn't really going to help me because I work in a very crazy environment. We all do. And so I'm going to pose to you, what if you could work in a crazy environment with deadlines looming? Do you have that kind of experience? Do you know what a crazy environment is with deadlines looming? Have the motivation to be creative and achieve higher performance. Wouldn't that be great? Deadlines looming, crazy environment, you know, be creative, higher performance, but do it all without stress. In other words, do it all without stress or self-judgment and anxiety. And I'm here to tell you that you can, and you can do it with mindfulness. So some people have this misconception that stress is a great thing. It's good to have stress. I like stress because it really motivates me. And of course, what they're mistaking is that you don't need stress to be motivated. Motivation by itself and passion is a good thing. All the stress is something that you just kind of like thought, oh, this is, somehow I'm going to use this, I'm going to rationalize this as a good thing, when in fact it's burning you out. And so we're trying to make sure that you don't burn out, but that you have all this ability here. So if you're not convinced on this, I'm going to the Super Bowl, he says. This is Pete Carroll, and he's going to the Super Bowl. And if you watch a crazy environment where people are trying to perform high and all of these sorts of things that we're talking about here, that is the same person who's on the cover of Mindful magazine and is trying to change the football league. So again, I'm only showing you these things so that you understand that what I'm going to be asking you to do is not disconnected in some kind of fundamental way from what you want to do. You want to do what these people are doing without all the stress and anxiety, etc. And mindfulness can get you there. Okay? So with that, let me ask you a question. And the question is this. I want you all to think about, say, in the last week or so when you were stressed. Can you imagine, or maybe you don't look too stressful, but I want you to imagine, like in the last few days when you were really stressed out. Can you all imagine something like that? Or some challenging situation, something didn't go the way you wanted it to go. Can you imagine any of those things? You're having a hard time figuring? Oh, no. You can imagine that, okay? So just imagine that, bring that to attention, bring that to your mind, say, oh yeah, I remember that situation. And let me ask you the following question. What would be the benefits if when you were in that situation, if all you did was just be present to the experience and didn't react? Just be present to the experience, this challenging experience, and just didn't react at all. Would there be any benefits at all? Can you see any benefits? Like what? What would you see? What possible benefit could come out of that?
Usually when you react immediately, it's not a thought-through reaction.
Right. It's just a habit. It's a habit. You just react. You know, that's kind of like the way we react. Anybody else?
You probably forget about it.
Forget about it? Yeah. Kind of let's just space it out or something like that? Okay. Anything else? Like a good thing? Yeah?
One thing at a time when I was that point, the value in stressing about it was sort of only adding things. It wasn't going to get me where I was going.
So this is just all added stuff, right? So it's like you just sit there and you're just, instead of reacting, you just go, oh, okay, maybe I have no control over this. Maybe anything I'm just stressing out about has nothing to do with this. And so you can imagine that I'm sure there's some downsides to in some situations, you know, where you might not, where you might have to like react because like you're walking across the street and a car's coming at you and all of a sudden, you know, you need to get out of the way. But a lot of times, instead of like using these habits that we have, we just kind of like are able to sit there, be calm, make better decisions. Maybe we understand the situation better that we're in, maybe understand that maybe the other person who's talking with us is having a bad day. All of these things, of course, we can't engage in because we're just reacting. And so what mindfulness is really, mindfulness is being present to your experience, alert and attentive to what's happening now, and it's being non-reactive and receptive and non-judgmental. In a sense, it's really two broad things. It's saying being present to what's happening right now and not reacting. Another way of saying this is just be present and relax, right? Don't react. You don't need to judge, comment. Yeah, you don't need to do anything. Just be present. Okay, now you might say, well, that sounds pretty good. That's pretty good. I mean, I like that idea. Let's be present, etc. But why? What's so great about it? Well, you can understand that most people are not present. Even right now, most of you are not present, and there's a reason for it, because most people are just sitting there in any situation, and they're thinking in the future or they're thinking in the past. So people lean forward or they lean backward, and that's how they go through life. You might be one of these people who, like, as you go through life, you're planning. What am I going to do tomorrow? What am I going to do tomorrow? What am I going to do in the next 5 minutes? Or you're going through life and you're saying, what happened to me in the past? What did they say? Why were my parents this way? Why was my sister or brother this way? And that's the way you kind of go through life. And so we just talk about it as like most people are just rehashing and rehearsing stories. And this actually started at a very early age. So when you were sitting there in a car and you're just kind of like driving somewhere, you're immediately saying, aren't we there yet? Aren't we there yet? That's just an example of like not willing to be in the present moment. And it's not just you. And so I'm here to tell you kind of some interesting news. It's like this happens to everybody, all of you, most of us. That's the way we live our lives. And so consequently, we can't be in the present moment. So what's so great about in the present moment? Well, what's so great about the now is that it's actually the point where you actually have choices. So this is where you make choices. It's between stimulus and response, between when something happens, when somebody says something and you respond. In that moment, there's a space. And in that space is where you have choices. This is where you have choices. And in that choice, in that space, that choice space is where your freedom lies. It's in your ability to be in the present moment and make better choices. Okay? Now, the other part of this is being non-reactive and receptive and non-judgmental. And of course, there's the problem is that you actually are not conditioned to be that way. You're going to kind of like look 200,000 years ago when we were all not here, but we were like on the savannah, you know, kind of like trying to kind of survive. Anybody who didn't recognize danger got eaten up. So over time, all the people who couldn't recognize danger really fast got eaten up. So you really had to kind of go through and go, I'm not sure about this, I'm not sure about that, I want this, I don't want that. You know, you got this fight or flight mechanism that started developing, et cetera. And we got really conditioned to like negative things, and you can test this out for yourself. Just think right now, what happened to you yesterday? What was yesterday like? And what you're going to immediately think is all the negative things that happened yesterday. People don't report, like, what happened yesterday? And people go, oh, I had this beautiful experience walking down and smelling, you know, the flowers or the rain or whatever. They'll just say, this happened wrong, this is what somebody said to me, this was bad, this was bad. This is a kind of a negativity bias. You all have it. You have a need for regulation. Everything, you want the temperature to be just right. If it's too hot, you go, oh, it's so hot, it's too cold. Oh my God, I'm cold. I want it to be warmer. all these things. And of course, everything is impermanent, and you don't like that. You want everything to be the same. You want everything to. So you can see that at times, what happens is you're just constantly pushing away things and pushing away things. This is the way you live your life. And so what happens is you might think about this as kind of like you're on a balance. And the scales are balanced in one way. And it's balanced in a way that you react to this and you react to that, and you don't like this and you don't like that, and you want this and you don't want that, and that's kind of like how you go through life. And what mindfulness does is say, can we be in non-judgmental awareness? And if we're in non-judgmental awareness, what we're doing is we're just tipping the scales. We're practicing tipping the scales. So when I have you practice, come back to the breath, come back to the breath. Don't be judgmental. Just be present, relax. What I'm actually doing is I'm helping you to rebalance your scales. And as you do this more and more, and you go through the process, what will happen is you will find yourself habitually responding, so you'll respond to what's happening rather than habitually just reacting out of these habits. Okay? Does that make sense to all of you? Okay. So that's kind of like how it works. That's the way it works. That is pretty much what we're going to be doing. And we'll do this by kind of trying to practice being mindful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you meditate. Now, the reason why we meditate, so I want to kind of close the loop, and then this is the last time I'm going to be talking about this. Really what's happening here is that I'm going to be showing you something that's really what we might call declarative knowledge. I'm going to give you knowledge, and you're going to try it out. And when you try it out and you do it over and over again, it'll turn into what they call procedural knowledge. You might think of this as a habit. You're going to create new habits. And so to create a new habit, you have to do it over and over and over again. And so that's why when we do the meditation, I'm going to be saying just do this over again and over again and over again. Right? But what are you doing over and over and over again? What you're doing over and over again is practicing being present and relaxing. And you're going to be present and relaxed for all of your experiences, whether they're positive experiences like, oh, I love this, I'm so relaxed, or what's negative, my back is hurting, I don't like the sound of the fan, I'm so impatient, why doesn't the guy ring the bell, on all these sorts of things, or just the neutral things, where it's neither one thing or another. It doesn't make any difference. Present, non-judgmental awareness, relax. And through that process, over and over again, you rebalance yourself. Okay? Any questions before we try it out? Sounds good? Makes sense? All right. So this is how we do it. You can actually meditate in a chair, on the floor. You can do it kind of like fancy style, like on a cushion on the ground, Burmese style, full lotus, half lotus, look like a Buddha and all of that. Or even do walking meditation. So there's lots of ways you can do it. It doesn't really make any difference. The important point is, are you practicing not kind of like being present and relaxing? So we're going to do it in these chairs. I think I'll sit down with you. I'll just kind of grab a chair here, and I'll do it with you. So we'll do it together. I'll see if I can kind of explain how it's done. So we'll do a simple one here. And yes?
If we get you were talking about just acknowledging the thoughts that pop in. So if it's like the example you gave was like for the fan, if you get like a negative reaction, should we try to make that a positive one or just
No, because you see, that's a very good question. So a negative thing comes in, your tendency is to say, oh, that's negative. It's got to be, we need to fix that, make it positive. With non-judgmental awareness, you're just going, oh, look, that's negative. This is just negative. So think about it. You can always go back to the same thing. What am I supposed to do here? Be present for it. It's negative. Relax. Your tendency, your habit is to fix it, make it positive, make it better, right? You already, just so you know, you already all know how to do that part of it. You all know how to take something that's negative and make it positive. So we're not practicing that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, so literally, what we'll do is we'll kind of sit as best we can in these chairs. These are actually pretty good chairs, and you can kind of relax into them, and then just follow my guided meditation. That's all we're going to do. And so we close our eyes in meditation just in order to kind of turn our attention inwards, and it makes it a lot easier. All I'd like you to do is just close your eyes, and then just start by feeling the weight of your body sitting on this chair that you're sitting on right now. Just feel the weight, and you can feel the weight just by noticing the contact point between your body and the chair itself. Like, just notice your butt sitting there on the chair, and you can feel the contact there. Feel the contact between your back and the back of the chair. Probably feel the contact between your feet and the floor. Just notice the sensations between your feet, like your soles of your feet, on your socks and on your shoes, and then touching the floor. And just notice these contact points. And we'll just notice them with mindfulness. We'll just notice, be present for them, not judge it, not comment on it. Just relax. Then bringing your attention to how your weight is distributed on the chair, you might think of the center of gravity of your body sitting on the chair, as to whether or not it's in front or behind the spine. And see if you can just change your body just slightly, shift it around just a bit, move forward and back and side to side, to see if you can kind of align your spine as best you can, given the seats that we're on. So the weight of your body seems to be kind of go along the spine. And then we'll just bring our attention to all the parts of our body right now where there's tension, but that tension is not required for us to sit in this chair. So for example, you might have tension in your face right now, around your eyes, your cheeks, your mouth, but you don't need that tension there to sit in the chair. Same thing goes for the jaw, around the neck, shoulder blades, all the way down to your legs, stomach. Anywhere you sense that there's tension, where your muscles have contracted, but that don't require that contraction for you to be able to sit in the chair, just see if you can relax that. Soften those muscles as best you can. One way to do this is just as you breathe out, just on each out breath, see if you can relax any muscles that you don't need. See if you can soften them a bit. Right, now just bring your attention to the fact that you are breathing in and breathing out. And just watch, just for now, this is what it's like to breathe in. This is what it's like to breathe out. Just know when you're breathing in, know when you're breathing out. Now, of course, your attention will wander away almost immediately. That's okay, that's what's expected. When you notice your attention has wandered away, that's good. You've noticed what's happened, so you've become present again. And so simply escort your attention back to the breath. There's no need to comment on this. There's no need for self-judgment. This was good or bad. Make any comment about it at all. Just simply, as you watch your attention wander away, once you've noticed it, simply escort your attention back to just watching the breath watching whether you're breathing in or breathing out. Now this is going to happen over and over again where your attention will wander away. And so over and over again, once you notice it's wandered away, escort it back to the breath. So while we're sitting here, simply watching ourselves breathe in and breathe out, watching the physical sensations of the in-breath and the out-breath, you'll notice that there are thinking sensations that arise, feelings that arise, maybe other body sensations that arise. They come into your awareness. If you just let them be, don't engage with them, comment on them, judge them, do anything with them, just let them be. These different things like thinking and body sensations and emotions will usually just arise and then pass away. And you'll stay anchored on this experience of just watching the in-breath and the out-breath. All right, so why don't we all just take a couple of deep breaths, and then when you're ready, open your eyes. All right. So, what was that like? What was your experience? Anybody? Yes.
I feel like I'm always so busy throughout the day that I never really ever close my eyes during the day.
That's
so
right.
It's really weird to just be almost alone with my thoughts, even though it's dark and the day is just not.
Right, right. So it's kind of a unique experience just to kind of look inwards and just be with what's going on. Anybody else? Yes.
I found it hard at first to not comment or not make a thought of what was coming
Right.
to mind.
So yes, I mean, because that's your natural tendency, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so your natural tendency is shared by probably everybody here, right? And so you're just sitting there, you close your eyes, and all of a sudden a thought comes in, and you say, oh, your mind kind of like goes, oh, playground, it's playtime. And so you want to like engage with it and make a whole story about it. And what mindfulness is doing, what the practice is doing, is just saying, okay, so that's a thought, that's thinking, that's going on. Letting go of that. This is the practice, is letting go of that and bringing your attention back to the breath. So at first, as you experienced, that's not easy to do. But then, you know, it's like anything. I used to teach guitar. You know, teach people how to do scales, and first time they do it, they go, "Oh, my fingers are killing me." It's really hard. And so you expect that. You expect that it'll be hard, but practice, you know, over time, you just learn how to do that because you're building habits. So anybody else? Yes.
Maybe I did it wrong, but I feel really sleepy right now.
Nope. Sleep is something that happens to a lot of people, right? So it's not, this is one of these things where the only way that you, and I hate to use the word wrong, because that's just kind of commenting, etc. what we're just trying to do is just be present and relaxed. Okay, so one of the things that happens when we get present and relaxed is that sometimes we get too relaxed rather as compared to being present. So the image I would use is like a guitar. Like it's like you're literally like tuning the guitar, and then if you as you start playing, it kind of gets flatter and flatter and flatter, and before you know it, the experience is for a human being is they start getting sleepy and tired. And so it's one of the things that we'll be talking about as we go through this class, but I'll give you the short way of handling this. A lot of this has to do with making sure that you are sitting up straight when you begin as much as possible. So you can imagine that when people say, I think I'll meditate, and they go, yeah, okay, I'm going to meditate. This is great, you know. So I can tell you that with almost assuredness that most people will just, what happens is they start off flat, right? It's a guitar that's flat, and it'll go more flat, and for you, you'll just fall asleep. And so it's one of the reasons why when people sit up to do meditation, they spend time kind of getting their body right. Now, some people get their body right and everything is, and they still get tired. So there's a reason for that, is that many people are just sleep deprived. So I usually say, go and get sleep. That's the way that you handle that. So for other people, what happens is that they choose a time of the day when their body kind of tends to kind of wind down. So maybe 3 o'clock is that time for you. Again, it depends on the person. And so one of the things that we do is when I send you off to do meditation, one of the things you're going to have to do is choose like when's a time of the day that works for you, but is also not one of the times of the day when you're naturally going to fall asleep. There's another thing that happens when people sometimes fall asleep, just so that you know, is that some people when they're sitting there and they're relaxed, all of a sudden they're very open, and so things that they repressed start to materialize and kind of show up. And some people don't like to see that. You know, they've done a good job of repressing these things for their whole life, but now all of a sudden it's come up. They don't like that, so they fall asleep. It's kind of like a defensive reaction to all of these. So there's a lot of reasons why people fall asleep. That last one, I'd only go there after I checked out all these other ones first. So make sure that you're sitting as straight as you can. Get enough sleep. Don't do it at a time of day when it's going to be really difficult for you. You can open your eyes. And so I give you all license that if you find yourself falling asleep, you can open your eyes. You don't sit there and open your eyes like this. You just open your eyes very slightly, just let in some light, and just that alone will kind of wake you up. So it'll affect a lot of different people. Anybody else's experience here? Yes.
I would say it kind of made me notice things that I wasn't noticing about, it brought to light some things, some negative emotion maybe.
Yes.
Maybe things that I need to work on or write about or journal or something.
Yeah. Right. And so this is, as I say, this is very natural. Mindfulness, you just think about what you're doing. As you practice just being with whatever without judgment, just being relaxed for whatever comes up, things arise that could be emotions, it could be thinking, it could be all sorts of stuff that you've conveniently pushed to the side. But here's the news about creativity. What ends up happening is that a lot of times when people are working on something, they're already creative, right? You come to school, you're creative. That's how you chose this field, or you chose a field to be creative in. But then as you're doing this, behind the reason why you can't do anything is because as you put things down, this kind of self-judgment comes up. Am I really good enough? I don't like myself, or other people told me I'm not really, so all this kind of self-talk comes out, right? And that leads to writer's block for people, and so they can't write, and they get kind of stuck. But they can't tell why this is happening. They just call it writer's block. But the reason why it's happening is because something that's in the unconscious is kind of there anyway. It's guiding it's guiding everything. What mindfulness does, when you're just there and you're present and not reactive, these things come out. And then I teach you, and we'll be doing that in this class, how to deal with those emotions. How when these emotions arise, how do you process those things? And then you'll learn, as you process these things, that these emotions that you really feared come out, and then emotions do what emotions do. Emotion, they move. And so when you give them license to move, they're able to move. And so that's what mindfulness does. And so the experience of people is that they'll say, oh, I used to be guided by all of these emotions behind the scenes, and now instead of them dominating my life, they're now just one part of my life. They're not the main thing in my life. That's good. That's a good thing. And that, of course, leads to less anxiety and stress and depression and the things we talked about. Anybody else? This is a good time to just, all we're doing here is we're just sharing our own experience with closing our eyes. There's nothing you're going to say that nobody else here in the room has ever experienced before. We're all human beings, and we all have the same kind of general experience. Yes?
I noticed at a certain point there was a small itch on my leg. And I
Yeah.
just acknowledge that it was there and not respond or
Right.
directly to it. And the more I focus back on my breathing, the more it just sort of went away.
Yeah. So thank you for that, because a lot of times when people close their eyes, all of a sudden they realize they have a severe skin condition. This is a common phenomena. You know, you go through life and nothing's bothering you at all. I mean, everything is fine. Then you close your eyes and you go, oh my God, my skin is itching. I mean, I've had people who've come and, in a meditation class, that was their big thing during the first week is, can I scratch the itch? That is their big thing. So they sit in meditation like everybody else, you're having this wonderful experience, and other people are just sitting there kind of experiencing emotion, and this person is just sitting there, can I scratch? Can I scratch? All right, so this is how you deal with all of these skin problems that everybody seems to have. See, you're all laughing, but you all know that this happens. And I've taught thousands of people, and I can't tell you how many people report this. It's a general phenomenon. So all that's happening here is that, all of the skin problems or dry skin issues, et cetera, that you're having all day long. Your awareness is someplace else. It doesn't bother you. It's no big deal. It's not really an issue at all. But when you close your eyes and you just focus on the breath and you're just being open and non-reactive to whatever it is, all of a sudden, you become much more sensitive to your body. And so all of a sudden this thing arises. Okay, so now let me tell you how you handle these itches. The first thing you do is do exactly what you do. You first see if you can just be present and non-reactive to it. So the first step is just be present and non-reactive to it. By being present and non-reactive to it, sometimes, not all the time, sometimes just by doing that, it goes away. It's like everything else. It kind of arises and then passes away. Sometimes what people do is they say, I'm going to be present and non-reactive. And then in their presence and non-reactive, they go, okay, I've been present and non-reactive for 30 seconds. Now, when is it going to go away? At which time now they're reacting. So they've just blown the second part of this. They're present, but now they're non-reactive. So now instead of it going away, it stays. It fires it up and makes it a bigger deal. The next thing you know, now they really, now it's become not just a little itch, it's a big itch, big scratch. So the process really is to start by just saying, okay, can I be present and relaxed with this? Try it for a minute, two. In your sense, it just went away. And if it doesn't go away, then what you do is you just mindfully scratch it. So this is how you mindfully scratch it. I'm sitting there. All of a sudden, I notice my arm. I have this big itch on my arm, right? Sitting there. And this is what I do. I take my other arm, and I notice picking up my hand. I notice swinging my hand over, going over. I notice the scratching part. I notice my hand going back, and off I go. Okay, so you scratch mindfully. Okay? That right there gives you all license to deal with any of these itches. Okay? But thank you for that, because it's really a very common experience. Anybody else? Yes?
A little bit of trouble sort of parsing in my mind the difference between being present to my breath and thinking about my. I feel like every time I remind myself to return to the breath,
Right.
some part of me is also thinking about it.
That's right.
Does that make sense?
So thank you for bringing that up, because a lot of people think that when we do mindfulness, we're not thinking, right? They actually somehow they encode two things. They encode, number one, that mindfulness means that we're not thinking, and secondly, they think mindfulness means concentration. So let me disabuse you of both of these. First of all, mindfulness is not concentration. Secondly, there is thinking that's going on. Clearly, when I notice that my attention has wandered away, because I've gone into some fantasy, and I've noticed, oh, my attention's wandered away, I'm using my mind, thinking, to actually bring it back. We actually call directed thought. You're actually directing your thought to bring it back. That's not a problem. So what do I mean by directed thought being? You know the difference. Thinking about I'm bringing my attention back, or I'm escorting my attention back is one kind of thought. That's directed thought, as compared to the kind of discursive thought, which is I didn't do a very good job, everybody else is doing it, and all of the kind of self-judgment and anxiety that kind of like that is commenting on all of this. That is also thought, but it's not directed thought. It's just discursive thought. That is actually the kind of thinking that creates a lot of these issues. Okay, so feel free. Did anybody notice, like for example, that when you put your attention on the breath, that you seem like you were changing the breath? Did you feel like this kind of interaction? So some people experience this. They bring their attention to the breath and they go, okay, am I just breathing, or am I actually forcing the breath? Okay? And so don't worry about all of that. And don't worry about that your breath has to be a certain way, because this is like how people get. They go, I close my eyes, focus on the breath. Ooh, I don't like this breath. My breath should be deeper, it should be shallower. I should change my breath. Why is my breath this way and that way? All you're doing is closing your eyes and focusing on the breath. Okay? All right, so one of the things that I wanted to highlight for you that I did in that last meditation was I just had you focus your attention on your breath, the whole breath, just watching yourself. Am I breathing in or breathing out? There's another way to do this, which is to focus instead of just on whether you're breathing in and breathing out, to watch how you're breathing in and breathing out at a very specific location. So what I could do is I could say, I want to put my attention on the physical sensation of breathing in and breathing out at the nose, because air is going in and out of my nose, right? That's how you know you're breathing. Or you might notice that you're breathing. If you close your eyes, you notice you're breathing because you can feel that your chest is expanding and contracting. And for other people, they notice they're breathing because they can feel their belly expanding and contracting. So what you can do is put your attention on a specific location of the breath and have your attention right on that sensation. Or what you can do, and this is a choice that you all have, and the reason why I'm giving this choice is because some people feel more comfortable kind of like just watching the whole breath. Some people feel more comfortable watching a very specific location of the breath. Okay? So you have a choice on this. So let's just do another short meditation so you kind of experience it again, but this time I'm going to have you kind of bring your attention to a specific location. And so you just kind of, all you do when I'm doing this is you close your eyes, and when you bring your attention to the breath, you just notice where do you feel the breath the most? Like where do you experience breathing? The experience of breathing, is it at the nose? It's usually at the nose, or it's because you can feel this kind of chest going in and out, or you can feel your belly going in and out. You just choose one, put your attention right there, and do the same thing. Let's just try a couple of minutes of this meditation. And so again, all we're going to do is we're just practicing. This is all we're doing is practicing, being present, being just present, and relaxing for our experience. So close our eyes. So since we did this before, I'm not going to take you through the whole setup of setting up your body like we did before, but if we were going to sit down and do a meditation, we would maybe spend time at the beginning setting up our body. But now we're just simply going to bring our attention to the physical sensation of breathing as we experience the breath at either the nose, meaning the sensation of air going in and out of our nostrils, or the chest, the expansion and contraction of the chest, or the belly as it rises and falls. And then you just choose one of those three places, and then just have your attention right on that spot, just noticing and watching the physical sensation, breathing in and breathing out. And again, your attention will wander away as it does. And all you're going to do is simply, once you've noticed that it's wandered away, escort your attention back to the breath. The physical sensation of breathing in and breathing out. The nose, the chest, or the belly. So one image that I often give students to kind of help them visually with the experience of meditating with their attention on the breath is though their attention on the breath is like an anchor. So you're on a small boat on the ocean and you're just anchored with your attention on the breath. Sometimes your attention wanders away, but you simply escort it back to just being anchored on the sea floor. Now, while you're doing this, of course, there's body sensations, emotions, and thinking that's going on, but these things are just like small waves on the ocean. That when they come into your awareness, it's almost like your small boat that is anchored rises with the wave. If you just let those things be, just like a wave, just let it be, ride it out. Don't engage with it. They will arise and pass away. You will come back as you were before, just simply with your attention on the breath, anchored in the present moment. Relaxed, without any judgment. No need to comment. No need to fix things. So as we're doing this little exercise of simply returning our attention back to the present moment, over and over again, this is now, this is here, this is now, and this is here. And as we do this without any judgment and commentary, all we're doing is simply bringing our attention to what is going on in our lives right at this moment. This is what is happening right now. Okay, so then just take a couple of deep breaths and then open your eyes. So next time I'll bring a bell with me. So I'll open these things and we'll go ding at the end of the session. Okay, so what I've shown you here is actually two ways of doing things. They're basically the same way. It kind of depends on people, quite frankly. Some people find it easier when they close their eyes, just focus, as they say, on just the whole breath. This is my breath going in, breath going out. Some people find it easier to kind of stay with it. They find it more interesting or something by just locating a very specific place. I will say for myself, when I bring my attention, it's right to the nose. I notice the air, literally the sensations of air going in and out of my nose. Other times when I meditate, kind of like it depends on the situation, I might sit there and just notice it's actually my belly, just kind of like expanding and contracting. Just expanding and contracting. The key thing is you want to keep your attention on the physical sensation. It's really easy for your attention to kind of like go and say, oh yeah, here's an image of my breath kind of going in and out, or I have an image of my belly expanding and contracting. But those are concepts. Those are that's not the present moment. Those are ideas that you have. And so what you want to do is you want to kind of zero in on the actual physical sensation of breathing. Because it's when you're on the physical sensation of breathing, you are by definition in the present moment. So if you ever want to get in the present moment, just so you know, somebody says, get in the present moment. The quickest way to do that is just put your attention on a physical sensation. Those, by definition, are in the present moment. So when you put your attention on the breath, not the idea of breathing, the idea of breathing is in the present moment. But if you put your attention on, this is the breath, and this is how it's going in and going out. This is the reason why a lot of times they tell kids or people who are like hyperventilating or something, just breathe. They breathe. What they're doing is, because one of the reasons why they start hyperventilating is their mind is like going, kind of like spinning out of control. And by bringing your attention, yoking it back into the present moment by focusing on the breath, they get into the present moment. So you're just doing that, and just saying, can I relax, not react, etc. Okay? All right, so this is a practice, as I say, and why does it work? Why are we practicing? Well, so why is this person in this batting cage? I mean, why would somebody go into a batting cage? Isn't a batter, like especially a professional batter, why do they go before a game and then just bat over and over again and just keep doing it over and over again? And you just go, God, doesn't this person know how to bat? Like, what are they doing? The reason why they're doing that is that one day they're in the World Series and they've got somebody throwing a 100-mile-an-hour fastball at them, and they don't want to sit there and go like, okay, so how did this work again? Is my arm supposed to be like this? And my arm supposed to be like this? Am I supposed to swing like this? Or am I supposed to swing like this? They want to have it down as a habit so that when somebody comes after them with a fastball, they know exactly how to do this. As you meditate, as you practice, when somebody comes at you, they don't come at you like this, but one of your friends just says, I hate you, or you're a lousy person, or as a faculty member, I say, F, right? That's like that fastball, right? If you've been meditating, you're able to like go, oh, right, okay, can I be present? Can I be present? I know I have actually skills for how to deal with this. Yeah.
So do you
suggest, and I don't know, it's probably different for everybody,
Yeah.
but do you suggest people who are just starting to meditate to do it either with any kind of music or any kind of assistance, like with
Yes.
somebody?
I'm going to give you guided meditation.
Okay.
Music, I tend to try to avoid people doing music, which is funny because when I started doing meditation, I didn't think I could last for like 3 minutes. So I remember just listening to like soft music and saying, okay, that's meditation. But that was a long, long time ago. I'm going to make your lives a lot easier. I'm going to give you a guided meditation. And I'll show you that. I'll show you exactly how you get that. And at 5 o'clock, you'll all have a triggered email sent to you. And so you'll give links to it. It'll give you instructions, and off you go. It's real simple. But thank you. Now here's a good situation. Like here, for example, I was sitting there at 5:30 on a Friday at Inside LA at 14th and Olympic. And we were having a teachers council meeting, and I had to leave. And that was me. I'm in the car, and that was what it looked like over there. And it was an hour driving basically something that should take 5 minutes, an hour. And so there's a lot of ways to handle this, just so you know. When you get out there, you're literally, there's cars all around you. You think you're going to be sharp and go on one of the side streets. They're all blocked. You're stuck, right? So there's a lot of ways to handle this, right? So you can handle it in the kind of the more typical way, which was everybody around me kind of complaining and probably feeling bad for themselves and thinking that the city of Los Angeles doesn't know what they're doing. Doesn't anybody know it's Friday? They shouldn't be doing work on the streets, et cetera, et cetera. Or you can sit there and just say, what? This is frustration. This is frustration. I can be present for it. Don't judge it. And just be with it. Right? And that's exactly what I did when I was in that situation. And you know what? I didn't have any control over it. I could have been just like the people next to me stressing themselves out. I got exactly where they got at exactly the same time. And it's just because I had a different, I'd been practicing. So I knew, I was like the batter who'd been batting and batting. That was my fast pitch in the in the World Series. And so you know how to handle it. Yes?
You know, that example, it's so much easier, like, said than done.
Yes.
In my life, I always have little things happen, and at the moment, I react. But then maybe 5 minutes later, I look and say, ha,
Right.
ha, ha, you were blank
Right.
at that moment. But at the moment, it's not
not
my
easy.
initial reaction isn't, you are frustrated. It's frustration. And then
That's
I'm
right.
like, you
Afterwards.
were frustrated.
Yeah.
So
This
how
is
does-
going to get you so that the more you practice, the more you're going to see it before it happens.
Okay.
In fact, one of the images I give people is kind of like, you know, you've all been on like a roller coaster ride. Have you ever been on a roller coaster ride? You kind of like get on the roller coaster ride, and it goes click, 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 and you go up, 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 up. And at some point, you can't get off anymore. You're going down that ride, right? And so a lot of people, the way they experience their lives is they're unaware that all of this is happening. It just kind of happens, and the next thing you know, they're just going down the ride. What mindfulness does is, because you're more in the present moment and you're seeing things as they're happening, you're able to say, oh, I'm on the beginning of this ride. I'm going to get off now. This is what I mean by you'll have a choice. You'll see choice. And so instead of it like being, you'll go down the ride and go, ha ha, look at me, I went down that ride. You'll actually, as you practice, but this is practice. This is why you have to practice. These people, if I didn't practice, I would have been sitting there. That was my car right there, the little blue. I would have been sitting there just screaming and yelling and probably turning on the radio to distract me, probably calling my wife and telling her how horrible my entire life was and how persecuted I felt about how LA has ruined my life once again on a Friday evening. That's one way. And mindfulness gives you a variety of ways. So that's good news. So you'll have to do that. So a couple of comments, because before I send you off to actually kind of experience this, people tend to make this practice very complex, and especially at a university where we ask you to compare and contrast and think about these things and get complicated. I'm asking you to do something completely opposite. I'm saying make this very simple. So simplicity is key here. All you're doing is practicing being present and not reacting. That's it. Present and not reacting. And if you want, just think it as present and relaxed, not reacting. So make it that simple. So when you close your eyes and you see something come up, just say, how do I handle this present and relaxed? How do I handle this present and relaxed? So instead, it's very, very simple what I'm talking about. Attend to what's happening right now and relax. Relax means don't react. That's it. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to get an email that's sent out to me, from Mindful USC, and it'll give you instructions, and then it'll take you to a website. This is kind of like what the website looks like, and it has all these meditations. There's other ones, and you're not going to do that now because we're going to do that in the next weeks as I go through and we explain mindfulness of the body, mindfulness of emotions, mindfulness thinking, and all of these other things that we're going to be doing. It's going to be kind of a rich experience through it. But you'll have an option of a 15-minute breath meditation or a 20-minute breath meditation. Choose one, download it, put it on your iPhone or whatever. All you have to do is just find some time during the day. Every day, find it, sit down, close your eyes, stick the headphones in, listen to what I'm saying, and meditate. Just practice. And all you're doing is practicing being in the present moment, not reacting. Okay? Are there any questions before I send you all off to this first week of just practicing what it's like to change your life? Yes?
So daydreaming is not a good thing?
No, let me make sure that if I notice that I'm daydreaming, I just go, oh, look, this is daydreaming. You know. So a lot of us again, I want to make sure that we understand there's a difference between right now when we practice. If you're closing your eyes, a lot of us, what we do is we close our eyes, bring our attention, and then find ourselves just daydreaming, right? Daydreaming. When you're daydreaming, you're just kind of off into some kind of other world, right? At some point, you'll awaken, you'll become awake, and you'll go, oh, look, I was daydreaming, right? You'll just notice it. At that point, you are in the present moment. That was daydreaming. And then you just escort your attention back to the breath. Now, in daily life, am I saying that you shouldn't daydream? Go daydream. Have fun. Have fun. I encourage daydreaming. In meditation, daydreaming is just spacing out. Right? Does that make sense? So I want to make sure that we see that what we're doing here is practicing something, okay? And out there, we're going to use those things. We're going to use it. It's a tool.
So earlier you said that there are like different forms, like you can sit while meditating.
Yes.
And you can do all that fancy stuff.
You can sit down, you can lie down actually. Next week I'll have you lying down, yeah.
You also said that we can walk.
Yes, walking meditation, and I'll talk more about this next week, but you can actually walk. When I walk on campus, I actually do it like this, but we do it in various ways. But one way is just simply to walk and just have your attention on the physical sensation of walking. If you look at the way you walk, pardon me?
Is it possible to meditate while exercising?
It's possible to practice mindfulness while exercising. And that's really what we're doing, is we're practicing mindfulness. Meditation is a way to practice being mindful. Walking is another way to practice mindfulness, right? Any situation where you're practicing being present and non-reactive is a practice of mindfulness, right? So some people say, oh, can I do yoga? Isn't yoga mindfulness? As long as you can do yoga without judgment. I can't do that. Like when somebody says, do this pose, like the tree pose or something like that, the whole time all I'm doing is judging. It's really hard. So yoga is really hard for me. I can be present. I can see how clumsy I am. I can say this is clumsiness and all that. And all I'm doing is judging. So it's not, for me, it's not a really good way to practice mindfulness. It's a great way for me to practice self-judgment and all the things. But I already know all of that. So I don't use that as my practice. So you can run, right? As long as you run and you just notice what's going on in the present moment, and you don't judge. Am I running good? I'm running bad. Why am I? Oh, I see somebody else. They're running better than me. All the judgment. Now what you're getting is just part of the mindfulness. You're just getting the present moment, but you're getting all the judgment. So what we want is both of them. We want context where we can just be in the present moment and non-judgmental. So that's the reason why closing your eyes and meditating is the easiest way. It's a little bit harder bringing it out to walking, but we do walking. It's much harder practicing it in relationship, but we'll do that in week 5 or 6. We'll talk about mindful listening, but you'll need some skills before we can get there. Okay? So with that, thank you. And we'll see you next week. Thank you so much.